A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India stands at a crucial moment in its economic journey, driven by sweeping reforms and growing global engagement. Key initiatives like GST have simplified business and improved ease of living, attracting international investment and boosting confidence. Looking ahead, India's Vision 2047 aims to transform the economy into a $30 trillion powerhouse through innovation, inclusivity, and strong public-private collaboration. Take a look.
Driven by rapid growth, transformative reforms, and a changing global landscape, India is emerging as a formidable player on the world stage. While challenges from complex domestic issues to shifting international dynamics remain, the opportunities are equally compelling. Strategic policy initiatives and global partnerships are opening new avenues for growth and investment. Against this backdrop, the annual forum, the flagship event of Public Affairs Forum of India, brought together economists and industry experts to debate strategies, exchange ideas and shape collaborative visions for India's economic future. The forum highlighted India's readiness to harness reforms and global momentum, positioning the country for accelerated growth and heightened international investment.
We've seen a very good initiative on GST reforms. We are now going to see a plethora of information about changes in Income Tax Act. So I think ease of living and ease of doing business has been the hallmark of the present government. Post-COVID, I think people are looking at alternates to China in terms of supply chain issues. And I think India offers an excellent opportunity and excellent option for the global manufacturing companies to come to India.
India, the world's fourth largest economy, is on track to become the third largest by 2030 with a projected GDP of $7.3 trillion. With real GDP rising to 7.8% in Q1 of financial year 2025-26, up from 6.5% a year earlier. Fueled by strong domestic demand, transformative reforms and active global engagement, India is emerging as a prime destination for global investment. Easing inflation, rising employment, and robust consumer sentiment are driving private consumption and sustaining growth. India's expansion is no longer confined to traditional markets. By engaging with emerging regions worldwide, the country is building a more resilient, diversified growth trajectory, reducing dependence on a limited set of markets and strengthening its long-term economic and strategic influence.
We should not take our eyes off the ball that there are other markets, other opportunities available. I have been looking in particular very closely at the opportunities that the Gulf nations offer us, whether it is UAE or Saudi Arabia or Qatar or others, and there is a huge amount of capital available there that can contribute to India's development objectives. Increasingly, there is going to be technology in terms of artificial intelligence, data computing and so on, which is coming up over there. So I think that whether we look at Europe for its technologies, for its capital, for its skills, whether we look at the Gulf for its capital, for its energy resources, we need to cast the net wider.
Looking ahead, India's economic future is defined by ambition and opportunity. Building on the momentum of recent reforms and expanding global partnerships, industry leaders are optimistic about sustaining robust growth in decades ahead. Vision 2047 reflects India's determination to evolve into a $30 trillion economy, a goal that will require continuous innovation, inclusive development, and strong collaboration between the government and the private sector.
GDP is growing well. Obviously, we're at an all-time high. We are very confident that by 2047, we will be a $30 trillion economy. So we're $3 trillion today. So to grow 10 times in 25 years, that is, we're sure it will happen. With all the wonderful work that the government is doing, private sector is investing. So that is definitely there.
As India charts its course towards 2047, the nation stands on the brink of a transformative era. With strategic reforms, expanding global partnerships, and a steadfast focus on innovation and inclusivity, India is poised to emerge as a leading global economic powerhouse.
The ongoing human rights abuses in Pakistan and Bangladesh have reached a critical level, demanding immediate and sustained global attention. These alarming developments were brought into sharp focus at a high-profile seminar held during the 60th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. The event convened a diverse group of prominent voices, including activists, journalists and political analysts who collectively raised urgent concerns about the rapid erosion of civil liberties and the alarming rise of religious extremism sweeping through both nations. A report.
The human rights situation in Pakistan and Bangladesh is rapidly deteriorating, with widespread reports of severe violations, escalating religious extremism and political repression impacting millions. Religious minorities in particular suffer from systemic discrimination and violence, while blasphemy laws are frequently exploited to silence dissent and deepen sectarian divides. These deteriorating conditions were starkly highlighted at a high-profile seminar held during the 60th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. Organized by the Forum on Intercultural and Interreligious Dialogue in collaboration with Asian Eurasian Human Rights Forum, the event brought together prominent voices including activists, journalists and political analysts to raise alarm over the erosion of civil liberties and the growing influence of religious extremism in both countries. Participants detailed how terrorist elements, often linked to networks based in Pakistan, continue to target civilians in India, aiming to fracture communal harmony along religious lines. They emphasized the urgent need to raise awareness and foster greater understanding of these cross-border threats.
It is important to sensitize to them that we Indians have been facing terrorism and violence, proxy terrorism from across the border for 45 years now. And the last big event in Pahalgam was the worst of its kind because they also tried to communalize the issue and by ascertaining the religion of their victims first. That was very, very atrocious, and we have to point this out. However, the good thing that happened was that what they had thought, the planners of that conference in Islamabad must have thought that this will create riots across the country, that Muslims and Hindus will fight and so on. But instead it united us even more. There was even greater communal unity in the whole of India and particularly Kashmir after this event. You know, people from Kashmir, they came out spontaneously to chant slogans against terrorism, against Pakistan and so on.
The situation in Bangladesh also drew serious concern during the seminar. Political observers condemned the rise of mobocracy and fundamentalism under a government allegedly probed by international backing. According to Bangladesh's largest minority organization, the Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council, the country experienced 258 cases of violence against minority communities in the first half of 2025. Among these incidents, the Parishad reported 20 cases of rape and 59 attacks on places of worship. Additionally, the report documented 12 attacks targeting the Adivasi communities in Bangladesh. Critics say this troubling trend has been fueled by the current administration led by Professor Yunus.
There was the rule of law, if there is human rights violation, and a lot of people are being killed by mobocracy, and economic condition is so bad, people are going hungry, and they are saying that we are better off before this government. So this current government headed by Professor Yunus, he was installed with the support of Western countries. They thought that he is a Nobel laureate, he will make the country better off, but in fact he has been doing things which are considered that he is a violence of he is the promoter of violence. He is not an ambassador of peace, rather he is an ambassador of violence.
The forum concluded with a unanimous call for increased international attention and stronger measures to protect human rights defenders, minorities, and vulnerable communities in both Pakistan and Bangladesh. Participants urged governments and global organizations to take concrete steps to protect minorities, human rights defenders, and vulnerable communities. They emphasized that addressing these challenges is essential for peace, stability, and justice in the region.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
A British couple detained by the Taliban has reunited with their family in Doha after being released. Barbie and Peter Reynolds were seen shaking hands with Qatari officials before embracing their daughter and other loved ones. The couple had been held by Taliban's Interior Ministry since February 1. Their release followed several months of negotiations led by Qatar in coordination with British authorities and the couple's family, according to an official familiar with the matter. During a televised speech on Tuesday, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei dismissed the idea of holding talks with the United States over the country's nuclear program. He stated that such negotiations would not benefit Iran and would ultimately lead nowhere. In a pre-recorded message, Khamenei also emphasized that Iran would not give in to pressure over its uranium enrichment activities. He reaffirmed the country's consistent stance that it neither requires nuclear weapons nor intends to develop them. Massive floods in Pakistan have devastated both the rural heartland and key industrial centers for the first time in decades, inflicting billions of dollars in damages. The widespread destruction has not only displaced millions but has also severely disrupted food supplies, export operations, and an already fragile economic recovery, pushing the country into a deeper state of crisis.
The Pakistani Air Force's recent airstrike in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, resulting in heavy civilian casualties, has sparked global outrage and condemnation. Human rights groups demand accountability amid widespread devastation, yet Pakistan's government and military remain silent, further damaging their already tarnished reputation. At the United Nations Human Rights Council, India condemned Pakistan's actions, calling it to focus on its internal challenges instead of making baseless statements against India. Take a look.
The strike, carried out around 2 a.m., turned homes into rubble and streets into graveyards. Reports indicate that 30 civilians, including women and children, were killed, with many more injured in the bombardment. Disturbing images from the site showed bodies of children and families scattered in the aftermath. Pakistan's Human Rights Commission has demanded a transparent investigation, calling for accountability and protection of civilians. The civilian deaths have intensified public resentment in the region, which has already witnessed a sharp rise in militant violence in recent years. Yet the silence from Pakistan's military and government is deafening. For Pashtun activists, this silence is not new. It is part of a long pattern where the state inflicts violence on its own ethnic minorities while pretending to fight terror.
When you use, J-17, jet bombers against the houses of innocent civilians, naturally, the women and children are affected, killed, or injured. Before even that incident, Pakistan has been using drones for attacking, the Pashtun population in different areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, like in North and South Waziristan. Even in settled areas like Mardan, they used the drones to attack civilian population. And most of the cases, innocent women and children and elderly persons are killed and injured.
Despite branding itself as a partner in the global war on terror, Islamabad continues to employ drone strikes and air raids against civilian populations. For years, Pashtun communities in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the former FATA region have been subjected to military operations, surveillance and forced displacement. The recent Tira Valley strike is not an isolated incident. More than 30 such attacks have been recorded in the past few years, often justified by Pakistan as operations against terrorist hideouts. But the victims have overwhelmingly been civilians, women, men and children with no links to militancy. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa today stands as Pakistan's frontline. In the first 8 months of 2025 alone, the province has reportedly recorded 600 attacks, killing at least 138 civilians and injuring more than 350. Each time Islamabad walks away without accountability, leaving grief-stricken communities to pick up the pieces.
During the so-called war on terror, they killed more than 80,000 Pashtun civilians, not the terrorists, because the TTP and Al-Qaeda, they were given safe passages to Afghanistan to leave those areas, and only innocent people, they were killed. More than 3.5 million Pashtuns were internally displaced by those operations, and Pakistan got more than $33 billion. And that $33 billion was spent on Punjab, not on the Pashtun areas, to rebuild infrastructure which was destroyed by the same military in those areas. So there is a huge frustration among Pashtun populations. They are demonstrating against these attacks because they consider that Pashtuns are considered to be the second-class citizens.
Focusing narrowly on the
India also took the issue to the international stage. At the 60th session of UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, India's representative Kshitij Tyagi criticized Pakistan over Tira Valley massacre. Kshitij Tyagi, counselor at India's permanent mission, accused Islamabad of making baseless and provocative statements against India, while failing to address the human cost of its own military operations.
Instead of coveting our territory, they would do well to vacate the Indian territory under the illegal occupation and focus on rescuing an economy on life support, a polity muzzled by military dominance, and a human rights record stained by persecution. Perhaps once they find time away from exporting terrorism, harboring UN-proscribed terrorists, and bombing their own people.
Beyond the killings, Pakistan's military operations have uprooted entire communities. Over 6 million Pashtuns have been displaced from their homes in recent decades. Thousands remain missing, families torn apart as loved ones vanish into military detention or disappear amid clashes. The Pakistani government insists its actions are aimed at dismantling terrorist outfits like the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. But for the Pashtun population, these operations represent systematic persecution, a campaign of fear designed to crush dissent under the banner of counter-terrorism.
It's that time of the year again when the divine energy of Goddess Durga radiates across the nation. In West Bengal, she descends in all her glory during Durga Puja with grand idols, majestic pandals and streets echoing with the beat of the thak. Across India, her spirit is celebrated as Navratri, 9 nights of devotion, dance and worship. From Garba in Gujarat to Golu displays in Tamil Nadu, this isn't just a festival. It's a nationwide tribute to the power of Shakti. Take a look.
As the autumn air turns crisp and the scent of incense floats through bustling alleys, India dons its most vibrant colours for Durga Puja, a grand celebration of the divine feminine. The festival marks the victory of goddess Durga over the demon Mahishasur, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. In cities like Kolkata, the spirit of the festival runs deep with tradition, art and spirituality, creating a spectacle like no other. From the bustling lanes of Kolkata to the quiet corners of rural Bengal and beyond, the country comes alive in celebration of the goddess Durga's victory over evil. Meanwhile, in Gujarat, thousands gather nightly for Garba and Dandiya Ras, dancing in concentric circles to celebrate the 9 forms of the goddess. As part of these celebrations, women also showcase their cultural heritage through traditional performances like Talwar Ras, a vibrant sword dance that reflects the pride and history of their community.
स्वॉर्ड जो अभी है, शस्त्र एक हाथ में है पकड़ा हुआ है, वो एक शक्ति का दर्शन कराता है, तो दोनों हाथ में लेकर तलवार है और साथ में इस टाइम जो आपने देखा है व्हीकल्स के साथ, टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ हर क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ना जरूरी है, तो यहाँ पर भी सिर्फ ग्राउंड में खड़े रहकर नहीं, व्हीकल्स के साथ हमने परफॉर्म किया है.
From early morning Pushpanjali to afternoon Bhog and evening Aartis, every moment of Durga Puja is filled with rituals and devotion. In Kolkata, pandals are not only for worship, they also tell stories and share important messages. Many are based on themes like saving the environment or women's rights. Across Delhi, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, the festival takes another form through Ram Leela performances, beautiful decorations and temples full of worshippers. In Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, homes display Golu, rows of dolls showing stories from mythology. Each state has its own way of celebrating, but the love for the goddess is the same. Durga Puja is more than just a religious festival, it's also a source of livelihood and hope for millions. From sari sellers and sweet makers to local drummers and light decorators, everyone feels the festive boost. It's a time when homes are filled with joy and businesses see brighter days.
कारीगर जो बड़ी बड़ी मूर्तियां बनाते हैं उसकी छोटा स्वरूप हमारे पास मिल जाएगी, जैसे 2-3 इंच से लेकर 2 फीट तक की है अपने पास. बाकी उसको अलावा आपकी माता चुनरी है, फलारी नमकीन है, पूजा पाठ का पूरा सामान हो गई, ये सारे सामान अपने हो.
Across the country, the preparations bring work for artisans, flower vendors, tailors and electricians. As the 10-day festival comes to an emotional end with Visarjan, the immersion of the goddess, hearts grow heavy. With tearful eyes and folded hands, devotees say goodbye, whispering a promise that echoes years after year. She will return again next year.
From vibrant pandals to joyous Garba nights, the spirit of Shakti connects every corner of India. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.